This is part 3 of Cardiac Rhythms Made Easy. So just to recap, you know, in order to have a sinus rhythm, you've got to have a P, a QRS, and a T wave. If you don't have those things, it's not considered sinus. But if you have those three, it's called a sinus rhythm. But what if you don't? What do we do then? Let's start by reminding you that a P wave corresponds to the atrium, a QRS corresponds to the ventricles, and the T wave is that recharge. If you're going to see something going on, you're typically going to see a problem either in the P wave zone or the QRS zone. So what if you don't have a P wave? What's going to happen? If there's no P wave, you're going to have something called atrial fibrillation. Let's take a look at this rhythm strip real fast. One of the very first things I notice and that I want to point out is how disordered it looks. It doesn't look normal. It doesn't look like it tracks out evenly. That's called an irregular heart rhythm. Instead of hearing that steady bump, 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 you're going to see bump, 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 bump. And that's because the P wave normally sets a regular beat, a regular rhythm. And when he's gone, it becomes irregular. But also you can notice that we don't see any discernible P waves. You see QRS, T, and then some squiggles. QRS, T, and then some squiggles. And it does that all the way down. That's pretty indicative of atrial fibrillation. So we see our QRS and our T wave. We notice that there are no P waves and that it's irregular. So we know this is atrial fibrillation. But atrial fibrillation, or A-Fib, is not going to kill you. So what will kill you? And I think this is super important that we know to look at the deadly rhythms: ventricular tachycardia, ventricular fibrillation, and asystole. To be fair, you could throw PEA in there, but it's really hard to show on one of these videos. Ventricular tachycardia looks like this. You can think tachycardia looks like tombstones, ventricular tachycardia and tombstones. You cannot live with this rhythm. And what do you notice? You notice a QRS and a QRS and a QRS and a whole bunch of QRSs, which means there's going to be limited ventricular filling. The heart actually doesn't expand enough to allow the blood to come in, therefore blood's not getting to the rest of the body either. The next one we want to look at is ventricular fibrillation. And if you look at it, do you see any QRSs? No, but you do see something. You see these little squigglies. You can have fine or coarse V-fib, but here we go, it's fibrillating. You think of fibrillation like this, that the bottom of the heart is just quivering. Somebody described it once like a bag of worms. It's just fibrillating. And again, you can't live with this. There's no blood pumping to the rest of the body. The last deadly rhythm is asystole. Asystole, it's different from V-fib because there's literally nothing. This is the flat line. This is when you see no electrical activity. So let me summarize real quick. Your P wave is with your atrium, your QRS equals your ventricles, your T wave is that recharge, that repolarization. Bradycardia is less than 60, tachycardia is greater than 100, and anything in between there is normal. A-fib is when there's no P wave, but there is a QRS and a T wave. And your deadly rhythms are V-fib, V-tach, and asystole. Those are not life-sustaining rhythms. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you can find that reading those strips is really not as hard as you think. Like and follow for more content like this.